Hello and welcome to a new video of the Path to DevOps series. On today's menu, we have a front-end deep dive. We've already initialized the database and also looked at the backend microservices. So today we're going to understand the front-end application, how we can configure it, and most importantly, we're going to compile it on our local host. If that sounds great, let's jump right in. If you want to follow along and you don't know where to start, you'll find the link of my GitHub account in the description, and in there you'll find the initial setup repository which contains all of the applications, and today we're going to focus on the front-end one. Once you've downloaded the repository and you're inside the front-end folder, this is what you should see. It's basically some Docker file and Docker ignore files, which we'll talk about later throughout the series, and two folders. The Angular UI one is the one that's actually hosting the application, and the nginx conf actually contains configuration for the nginx server, which will host our application once we containerize it. So at the moment it will do basically nothing for us, and we won't talk about it yet. But keep in mind, when we want to configure the nginx server for our application, this is what we will use. So coming back to our Angular UI folder, it has some important packages. First, you have the source, which contains all of the actual code of the site and also the assets like images. If you remember, the site was loading some bearded guy photos. This is where they are. It's also the logo for the website, which appears in the uppermost right corner, where you can actually see it because of my video positioning, but I'll change that in the future. And it contains the code, right? So this is what the source folder contains. Now, if you've watched the backend video, you'll remember about the pom.xml file, which was basically hosting all of the configuration of the project. Well, an equivalent to that would be the package.json. When you run the compilation commands, the packaging commands for this Angular project, you'll actually need to be in the same folder as package.json. And as you can see here, we have the name of the project, which is Frontend, the version. I didn't bother changing it, it's 000. Then we have some scripts, which means we can automate some procedures by running these commands, and they'll actually translate to something else in the backend. Pretty cool. And then you have the dependencies for the project with their respective versions. Package lock.json has pretty much the same information, plus the locked versions of those modules, right? You can actually delete this one before compilation and nothing bad will happen. It will just recreate it for you one more time, and I'm going to do just that to prove my point. So this is pretty much all you need to know about the front-end application in order to be able to configure it. Moving on to the packaging of the application, we will require two things, and those are Node installed, nodeJS, and also Angular CLI. And I'm going to link these resources under the video so you can follow along and download them and install them on your computer. But once you've done that, you should be golden. One more thing I would like to mention is that this dist folder is the actual result of the packaging process. So the index.html will be the one that serves as root for our website. And just to prove that this is true, I will also delete the dist folder. And now I would like to show you the version of Node Package Manager that I have installed, and also the Angular CLI and Node versions. Yeah, so this is basically it. As I said, I will link them down below in the description. Moving forward, let's compile this application, or let's package this application. As I said, we need to move inside the Angular UI folder, and the first command we need to run is npm install. Let's make this bigger. and it will take some time, so I'm going to fast forward. A few moments later, and it's done. Now, vulnerabilities aside, as I said, the package -lock.json was recreated because npm install installs the dependencies. So moving forward, the next command we need to run is this one, npm uninstall node -sass. Let's hit run. 1 eternity later. And we are back. God, I love time traveling. So this is done as well. As you can see, uninstall node sass is completed. Again, ignore the vulnerabilities. This is an old application, as I said. Now, what this does is it uninstalls a component that's old, and now we need to install the newer version, which is npm install sass. Yeah, sorry for the actual rendering of the text, but this is what we have to run. Another eternity later. And we're back onto the final command that we need to run, which is npm run build, which will actually package the application and create the dist folder. This will also take a while, so I'm starting the process and going on to the final time-lapse. Success is the name of the game. Here we have every file rendered and the dist folder is back. You can see the index.html, which will serve as the root of the website. Pretty cool, right? So what if I told you you can actually run this locally, but given the fact that we don't have the two backends to integrate with the front end, it means only part of the page will load and the other part will fail. You'll still see the website, it's just not the full image. So let's do just that by running the following command, which is npm run, oh, I'm writing in a totally wrong area, npm run start. And now it's going to take a while for the code to render, and it's compiling the application. As you can see, it shouldn't take longer than, let's say, 30 seconds. And there we are, compiled successfully, which means if we open our browser and we go to localhost, and the default port for Angular server is 4200. There we have it. This is our front-end application. As I said, it's not loading completely. Let me just move myself so you can see the logo. And there you go. You have the logo right here in the top rightmost corner, and you have welcome to Barbart. And then there's a loading message. And this message appears, and this is a cool hack. If you press F12 and you're not aware of that, you will open developer tools. And if you go to console, it says here that it failed to load the resource because /product didn't answer, 404 not found, right? Because you don't have the product API and you don't have the cart API either. So the front end will only work partially until you integrate it with the two backends. Now, this is a good idea, right? So we're going to do that in just the next video, because so far we have the database up and running and configured. We should know how to compile and run the two backends locally. And then we also need to configure the front end to find the two backends. And we should be able to run the 3 microservices locally together and obtain the full front end web page. Let's do just that in the following video, and if you've liked what you've seen in this video, hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Cheers.